And that was My Wings, and that was Marcelo in Argentina singing that, and just a beautiful voice. We're just very blessed. And speaking of blessed, we got Dr. Michael Nuccitelli here from New York State, and he is going to talk to us about cyber stalking. I'm gonna paraphrase the intro here, I guess, as best as I can, because you use a lot of big words, and I'm not that. My glasses don't adjust to big words. So he's a psychologist from New York State, licensed psychologist, cyber psychologist, and online safety educator. In 2009, Dr. Nuccitelli finalized his online aggressor concept called iPredator. Since then, Dr. Nuccitelli has been educating and advising online users about cyberbullying, cyber stalking, online safety. The iPredator website, you can punch that up right now. If you are at home, go ahead and do that, or even at work if you're ripping off your employer by online. But you can go to iPredator.org. I will have this listed on our website as well. Dr. Nuccitelli, I thank you, my friend, for even being available for me. I know how busy you are.
Oh, good day. Thank you. It's an honor to be able to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about online safety, cyber attack prevention, and some of the iPredator concept. I mean, as you know, just like your listeners know, there is a lot of stuff going on in cyberspace. I call iPredator a dark side of cyberspace concept that essentially presents 8 different types of online assailants. And maybe we can talk about a couple of them today.
Yeah, you know what, and I'm going to go ahead and do the disclaimer right now. As everybody knows, sometimes my mouth gets ahead of me, and my filter between my ears and my mouth doesn't work real well. But God made me that way, so I'm cool with that. And Dr. Nuccitelli, I understand you got the same damn problem.
That is correct. Yes. But I'll try my best to be,
It was so funny because you asked me, you said, do you want me to be real doctory, or do you want,
exactly.
I'm like, no, dude, do what you got to do, because that's how we do it here, But so yeah, I'm gonna just let you go. We have a lot of listeners that I personally know that have small children, have children growing up, 18 to whatever it is, and that I know are going to be highly interested, because I know what I did when my kids were young, and now my kids have kids of their own. So I know my kids, my daughter is just very excited to listen. And I do want to say something to the people listening. If you want to join in on this meeting and ask a question, all you need to do is on the website, go to the radio schedule, scroll all the way down to today's show, click on it, and you can come in. And then as we progress here, if we got some time for questions and there are people in, we are taping this, Doctor, but I did let a select group of people know we were going to be live, just to see if there were going to be questions. So if anybody wants to do that, great. You will just go to the radio, scroll all the way down to the calendar, click on the link for the Zoom, and you'll come in, and then we'll admit from there. So Dr. Nuccitelli, take it over.
Great. Okay. So I'll give you the real quick overview of what iPredator is. So, as you briefly mentioned earlier, is that, 2009, 2010 is when the light bulb went off, and I finally wrote, because I'm not the biggest, I don't really enjoy writing and research, but I felt the need to have to do it. So the concept iPredator makes up 8 different types of online assailants, and I'll give those very quickly. The child form of iPredator is cyberbullies. That is child-on-child cyber attacks. So presently in the online safety industry, cyberbullying is restricted to children. Okay. And we can talk a little bit about cyberbullying later on. So it's child-on-child cyber attacks. The adult forms of cyberbullying would be internet trolls, cyber stalking, and cyber harassment. Now, mind you, all of those can certainly occur amongst children, but Cyber stalking, internet trolling, and cyber harassment is when we're dealing adults. Then we have what everybody knows is cybercrime. Then we have cyber terrorism, cyber terrorists, by the grace of God, that is yet to occur here in 2022, yet, thank God. And then we have the darkest, the most deviant aspect of iPredator. That is your online child predators and your online child pornography consumers and distributors. Those 8 types make up the concept of iPredator. Now, real quickly, for you, your listeners, anybody out there, if you'd like to know if you, a loved one, or an adversary is an iPredator, very quickly, and it's very straightforward, it's 3 criteria. One is the use of information communication technology to harm another online user, another person. That's very straightforward. 2 is of self-awareness of using technology to cause harm. Now, with that one, that can be a little bit foggy. You know, the legal eagles call it mitigating factors and circumstances. Sometimes children don't realize when they're cyberbullying one another that it really hurts and can really traumatize another child. Okay.
Right.
Again, criteria 2 is self-awareness. All right. And then the other aspect that can make it difficult is when it comes to those that suffer from psychiatric illness. There are people, and by day, I have my own group practice. I work with the chronically mentally ill, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar, so forth and so on. And those individuals, albeit they're not using technology at this time, as they will maybe 10 years from now, but for them, the self-awareness of what they say and they do, oftentimes they don't realize how it impacts others.
Right.
So it is the use of information technology, a self-awareness of the information technology causing harm. And then number 3 is what I call cyber stealth. And what cyber stealth is the creation, the use of, the implementation, the activation of online deception. So if the iPredator wants to completely hide their identity, or they want to skew their identity, that is cyber stealth. If the iPredator wants to stalk, collect data from you, try to manipulate you into giving up information, that all falls under the 3rd criteria. So if you or the person you're thinking about is an iPredator, if they fit those 3 criteria, they are an iPredator.
Wow. Wow. And so you literally on your site, I saw you have that self-assessment, right? What you just said,
Yes.
that people can go to.
Right. There's, and thank you for asking. And please know for your listeners, everything at my website is free. It's public domain. As I always say, is that you print out any of my work. If you don't like it, wipe your butt with it, blow your nose, throw it in the garbage. But I believe I have 31 or 32 different checklists, different things that adults can use, parents, for teens. I just published one that's very important, and we could do a whole show on it, which I call Predatory Trolls, which deals with internet trolls. Yeah. So it's just important to note that everything at my website is free. There's no attribution to me. All I ask is that people take the time and to use it to try to gain awareness and to learn a little bit about what does it mean to live in the information age.
Well, the one thing that I was really impressed about was just what you just said. You know, you have, this is not a website that was thrown up. This thing has so much information. You could spend hours on your site learning all kinds of different things. You know, and that you just allow people to come in, just truly does show this is your passion. You know, you got your day gig, and then this is truly and I can just tell by the way you're speaking, it's a passion. And like you said, if you don't like the information, it's no different than music. Somebody doesn't like the song, hey, hit skip.
Yeah, exactly.
Who gives a crap? You didn't pay for it. So have a nice day.
Well, the important aspect, and again, thank you for commending me. The important thing is, and again, back in my past life, again, I'm still fascinated about it. I was a clinical psychologist, but I was also a forensic psychologist.
I wanted to talk about that too.
At the website, I wrote a concept called dark psychology, which is a concept I wrote back in 2006, which I call the dark side of human consciousness concept. Predator is the information age dark side of human consciousness. So for me, I have always been fascinated in learning about and trying to understand. Religious folks would call it evil. The criminologists would call it the psychopath.
Right.
I have always been fascinated in learning about the psychopath, the sociopath, the criminal mind, and what we now I call the cyber criminal mind.
Yeah.
We are dealing at a time, we're at the beginning of a period of history called the information age. We are only 45 years into a period of history that will last centuries. Now we're being introduced to the two big concepts of artificial intelligence. Nanotechnology is another one, and then virtual reality.
Okay? Scary.
Over the next 10, 20, 50 years, in my prediction, a century from now, sir, they're going to look back at us and they're going to laugh to say just how primitive and archaic we were in terms of social media and what we do on social media.
Right.
So it is understandable why at this point, this juncture in history, that we are essentially newbies, that we don't practice online safety, that we don't understand what it means to go online and to give far too much personal information.
The thing that's so funny and has been to me, so we're on no social media. The Bootleggers Music Group is on. We have no. We do not work any social media presence. I was guided by a dear friend of mine's son who took over his music catalog, Wayne Perry, who wrote a bunch of hits. His son, Brian, took over his stuff, and he's like, Paul, you have to put this on social media. You need to be on Facebook, Twitter, Twatter, Flapchat, Crap Chat, all that. And I said, dude, I'm not going to be any part of that. And I have my own reasons. We won't go into it here, but we actually did. Man, you hit agree on Facebook or any of those, you just gave them everything.
That's right. Data
mining. Back exactly 16 years ago, 15 years ago, I guess maybe it was, I don't know the year span, but I realized that when you post a picture, people don't know this, when they post a picture, unless Facebook's changed something, when they post a picture on Facebook, Facebook now owns that image. They own the image. You could be driving down the highway and see your kid in a commercial or on a billboard because they own it. And so we basically we hit agree to everything, right? To everything. We just agree. And all that stuff is now, and it is forever out there.
Correct.
When I got off Facebook, I actually dug, found out exactly how to purge their database because it can be done by law. They have to purge the database. That doesn't mean they don't. They do. Who knows? But there are steps. Just hitting cancel does not delete a damn thing.
Correct. And real quickly, if there is content that you have posted, again, information can only be managed three ways here in the information age. You can compile information, you can disseminate information, and you can exchange information. That is the only three ways we can manipulate information here using social media and the internet. So, and you said it, you hit the nail right in the head. When you delete something online, it does not disappear. So what I tell people all the time, it is essential infinite and it is eternal. The one thing that folks have to understand is content that you share online, for instance, you may delete it, but what about the 500 other online users that may have saved it and shared it to others, so forth and so on, and maybe took it off that social media platform and shared it on another social media platform. So really, one of the biggest things, and we can talk about it right now, and I say it all the time, personal information. I say it 3 times because I can't stress it enough. The more personal information you share about yourself, your children, your career, the more you share about that, the higher probability you have of being targeted by cyber criminals or what I call predator.
Yeah.
Now, for all of us living in the information age, our career, we wake up and we go to bed oftentimes using the internet. So you have to share some content, some information. But what I suggest for people is to always be aware of what you're doing online.
Right, right. Well, the funny, back in the day when I did stand-up comedy, I have a wife, 3 kids, 2 dogs, and at that time, and I realized one time I was out on the road, and I was using my own website, and at that time, probably like AOL rooms and all that kind of
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that crap. But you talk about people laughing at us. That was it, man. I mean, you upload a 2 meg picture took 4 hours and 57 seconds. But I was on the road one time, and I can't remember exactly where I was. I actually think I was in Toronto, Canada, and I realized that I posted my entire schedule of when my family would be alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately tore, matter of fact, my good buddy Dave, the dating Dr. Coleman, I shared that with him. And I think he took his schedule down because he's out I was gone 47 weeks a year. He's gone 225 days a year. I'm like, dude, our families are left alone. And then the other realization I had was, people go on vacation. I see it all the time. I mean, I watch them. They post on Facebook and these things. Hey, we're in Florida. The jewelry's in the. I mean, you just told the world, the entire world, nobody is at home.
And it's almost like you're reading my mind. After working on the weekend, since I've written Predator, I volunteer helping those that are cyber attacked. So in the last 12 years, I could safely say there has been several hundred folks that I helped. I provide free volunteer help. It's confidential. I advise whether you're being cyber stalked. But several years ago, I helped a woman who had her Facebook, just like all of us, but she had it on public. She had her privacy setting to public. And over the course of about 2 weeks, she was talking about, now here I'm on the East Coast, she was talking about going down to Atlantic City, going down to Wildwood. And she would talk about it. And mind you, her Facebook was set to public. And she would talk about, she can't wait to go, who she's going with. And she literally she posted about when she's leaving and when she's returning.
Right. And who
goes on vacation, has a wonderful time. She comes back home, and guess what? Somebody had cased and broken into her home and took all of her valuables.
Yeah.
That is just a small piece of what's going on in the dark side of cyberspace. So when I talk about personal information, it's even down to the point of looking over your left shoulder, whether you're doing a webcast, whether you're taking pictures, is making sure that there is no details that can divulge your whereabouts, where you're, and who you are.
Right. And as well as I do that most people don't even know how to change the settings on their phones. That so location, it's already there.
Exactly.
It's stamped. It's where my phone. If I could get away, the biggest part that I use my unsmart phone for is to store my music that I play to, and the GPS. The GPS functionality. Other than that, a flip phone would be sufficient, but even the flip phones have chips in them for location anymore. But people really don't understand the steps to take to get rid of the location when you're taking pictures, to really lock their phone, because you just have to search for it.
Right.
Because the settings that your little iPhone came with or your Android phone came with is all open.
Right.
It's as soon as you hit agree, everything that could possibly go wrong can go wrong. And then you got to go into the settings in each one and go down and down and down. And speaking of that, do you have any information like that? I didn't see any information like that on locking down phones, locking
No,
down computers?
again, I hate to say this, although I'm an online safety educator, I am a technological idiot. If I may say, when it comes to my mobile device, the only reason why I have it in my bag is for patient emergencies.
Well, I loved what
The
you said to
only
me
time
about texting.
That's the only time I use my mobile device. If there's a patient emergency, one of the nurses or somebody from work can simply call me. That is the only time that I use my mobile device.
Yeah.
A little bit of a little factor is there's this new term, didn't I didn't create it. It's called nomophobia. Nomophobia. And some of your listeners
Now, what the hell is that?
Nomophobia is when a person cannot connect to a Wi-Fi or they can't find their smartphone and they begin to experience an anxiety attack because they can't find it. They have, and then there's those that have phobic reactions, nomophobia. If they know that they cannot connect to a Wi-Fi, they won't go to that location.
I have remotophobia then. I think I have remotophobia because if I can't find my remote to my guitar or to my TV, then I can't play Andy Griffith. I freak
Exactly.
out.
Well, I mean, but when we're talking about mobile devices, people,
Yeah.
and again, I'm thinking children, but also adults. I have, again, I volunteer, and I'm not to go into the fine details, so I always, kind of interchange the actual details, but it really happened. But I helped a woman who could not find her mobile device, and she ended up having a panic attack. It turns out that the mobile device was behind the rear well of her car in her garage. But for a good hour, she couldn't locate it, and I don't want to say had to talk her down, but she was in the process of having an anxiety attack because she couldn't find it. This is how dependent and how reliant we have become on technology.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a full internet addiction checklist that anybody can take to assess whether or not you or your loved one is internet addicted.
Well, it's funny, sad, funny, sad, funny when you watch. When you watch, say, just a family out. And I was having a conversation with my buddy Dan, I think, the other day. Last time I was in, it doesn't matter, but you see a family out, and so they're eating dinner and in a restaurant, staring at their phones.
That is correct.
And not looking up, not doing, you often wonder, at least I do, how many times are they actually texting each other across the table?
Exactly.
Right. Instead of just. And I was on your website today, and I think you have this whole thing about dinner time at home. And
yes, digital dinner. I call it digital dinner for families.
Yeah.
Yes, where digital dinner would be. Would you like me just to give a quick overview of what that would be?
Yes, I would. Okay. Anything you want to talk about, anything, because right now, when it was 2017 when one of the hierarchies of Instagram. I think it was Instagram, who was, Instagram's owned by Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. By those goofballs. And she left. She left, and it was because of the evil. She's like, now they're targeting 2-year-olds. Now they're targeting 2-year-olds. To once they have them, they have them. And you think we got a problem today? Wait another 10 years, 15 years, 20 years when these kids that they have captured them. I was driving the other day and I saw this lady, her child was in a car seat next to her. And a bigger kid, but I guess now kids have to be in car seats till they're like 42. And which I don't understand. But she's sitting there texting while she's driving. And I thought to myself, I know damn well at some point she is going to have that kid turn 16 and give them some speech about texting and driving.
Exactly.
And yet the kid's programmed now. And I'm not a hypocrite. I'm guilty. I am guilty. But you don't realize that we stopped having cigarette ads on TV because of kids' influence, but we got all this other crapola that we
Right.
do, that we have programmed our kids to be this train wreck.
And with children are not learning because they're spending so much time with their devices. And it's not just children, it's adults.
Oh my God. Well, that, yeah, go ahead, finish.
But children are not learning what are called interpersonal skills dynamics. They're not, when I was a kid and I wanted to ask a girl to the prom or on a date, you know what I had to do?
You
I had
pissed
to
your
look her in
pants
her
and you
eye.
had to go do it.
I had to look at her and fumble and say, will you date? Will you go out? Today, children, most of their time is spent texting one another, using their devices, and they're not learning to use their God-given five senses.
Yeah, yeah.
And as they grow and as they get older, they become more and more dependent on what? Their device.
Well,
And we have yet to see the impact that's going to have on children 20, 30 years down the road, because we've only seen the evolution of the mobile device really only started. I mean, to me, I always say 2010 is when really social media and then mobile devices came out. But going forward, I always tell parents is you have boundaries. You tell there's a time and a place for the mobile dev, not just for your kids, but for you, because you have to set an example.
Yeah, you have to, we got to retrain, we got to rethink it. And, now, not making a statement, but I use this term all the time. It's my term. I got my own reasoning. And, we saw an acceleration. Do you believe we saw an acceleration of this during the scandemic? When we ripped those kids out of school, when we ripped them away from their friends, when we ripped them from their lives, they became 110,000 more percent addicted, because we told them this is the way you do it. Like Zoom, I'm not a big fan of this kind of stuff, but this is a good use of this technology.
Well, it's educational, of course.
But when you find out that kids are in their basement on their Xbox and flop box or whatever the hell they're called, and they're spending hours upon hours upon hours, Lord knows what the hell they're talking about, because you can't hear. They got headphones on. You can't hear what's being said. But I think it's been accelerated. I think we're in for I think we're already in a train wreck.
And I think what we're going to say again, we need a little more time to find out that what COVID did. But I really believe the COVID pandemic, the quarantine, telling children, people that they have to quarantine themselves, that they have to isolate. I have a strong belief, again, I can't guarantee it, and I hope I'm wrong, but I guarantee we are going to see that through research, they will show that there was an increase in cybercrime, cyber stalking, cyberbullying, online child predation, which is sexual predation. We are going to see that because of the pandemic and all this forced quarantine and the anxiety and the fear that went along with COVID, we are going to see a significant increase, and I hate to say it, in predator.
Well, we've already seen increases in all kinds of things, and so and certainly my people who know me, and I told you, I spend a lot of time doing suicide prevention. I used the CDC.gov's website for years. The page is bookmarked. I'm staring at it right now. It's the same page I always used. If I got to college, I brought the numbers up. You could dissect it down by state, diabetes deaths, cancer deaths, heart attacks, blah, 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 you name it. And then I would compare it to the stats on suicide. Well, ironically, when this all started, in basically 2019-ish, or like early part 2020, late 19, the page changed. It's still, I'm staring at it right now, it's still a running count. And they include suicides in these numbers. They include, well, the flu. Everybody said the flu disappeared. Well, the CDC, I'm staring at it. The CDC says 508,000 people died of the flu. It was like, okay, it didn't. So, and then when you dissect it by age group, and this is the most frightening thing to me, doctor, of what we did to the kids. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is something that we're going to have to come to terms with, and we're going to have to deal with, is by age group. So all sexes, and even though these numbers then go into pneumonia, things like that, all sexes 0 to 17, the death count was 1,378 on this running 3-year count. And we ripped those kids' lives away. Mm-hmm. And then what we need to do now, one question I will ask you, I got some question I want to ask you. We can talk about anything. All the stuff that you're talking about is so vitally important to parents. And I know when my kids were little, I didn't have to worry about like the phones and stuff like that.
Correct.
My son's in his 30s, my daughter's in her 30s, my youngest just turned 25. So I didn't really have to worry about the phone stuff. It was more the computers, and we had computers in every room in the house. House is nice and wired. I downloaded this software called Big Brother. Mm-hmm. Went to bigbrother.com or something like that. And it kept a log of everything that happened. And I had a rule with my kids: as soon as you hit www.ishouldn'tgohere.com, I'm throwing the computer out your bedroom window. You'll never have another one.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. Parents, some friends thought I was being highly intrusive of my children. What say you?
Well, I think what it comes down to, one, is everybody's got, parents have different parenting styles. We have permissive parenting. We've got authoritative parenting. We've got authoritarian. Obviously, the best parenting style is authoritarian, which is middle of the road. But living here in the information age, there needs to be very strict boundaries on the amount of time a child can spend online. Now, obviously, that's very difficult to be able to control, particularly when, as you said, in the old days, 10, 15 years ago, the desktop or the laptop was in the home. It was in a central location in the home. Right. Now, with mobile device technology, children, just like adults, are carrying their computer in their pocket and in their purse. And even if you take the mobile device away, their cell phone, their smartphone from them, what can they do? They can use their friends, other students, other people at school. So really,
well, the schools are giving them to them.
Well, sure. And again, nothing against what's called virtual learning environments, online learning. When we talk about virtual learning environments, online learning, a lot of that occurred during the COVID pandemic. I understand, but I hope we don't move into a place where we come to this conclusion that we don't need the brick and mortar school and everything can be done online.
Well, one thing's for sure that it has done is it has totally separated people and their families and things like that, made it less personal. Excuse me. I found it interesting on the CDC's website. I just got done writing a book, and hopefully we'll wrap this thing up, called Ending the Great Depression of 2020, Unmasking the Truth. And one of the things I found over 46 senators and congressmen investing in mask companies in 2018. Now, I don't know if you invest your money in anything, but in 2018, were you thinking mask companies are a good idea?
Right.
I mean, all you got to do is go to capitaltrades.com, and they will show you who is investing and what they're investing in. It's ironic how the Zooms and all the technologies and the big box stores, all of a sudden, people were investing, these leaders are investing their money in these things prior. I mean, dumping money in them. And I just kind of find that a little funny. Me and you would be in jail with Zsa Zsa Gabor, and who else? Martha Stewart, and I would be in jail. But at any rate, how we reverse this is, I had a good friend of mine say that during this, and I experienced the same thing in my household, where his daughter basically was a superstar, right? And then all of a sudden her life comes to an end, and he can't get her off Instagram and Flapchat and Twitter and Twatter and that crap. And he's like, Paul, we're so afraid she's 14. We're so afraid how do we get her off? That's a question. How do we do it and not come home and have our child hanging? Mm-hmm. How do we reverse? What would your advice be for a parent that's experiencing that kind of dilemma? Because I know there's got to be millions of them experiencing, oh my God, now all of a sudden I get strict. How do they do that?
Well, again, it depends on the parenting style. I mean, it depends on the parenting. It also depends on the developmental level of the child. Taking a 14-year-old, there are mature 14-year-olds and there are incredibly immature 14-year-olds. So it is up to the parent and the primary caregiver to assess the developmental maturity of the child. Some children can be responsible when they go online. You know, some children go online though, and they turn into, a monster, and they become cyberbullies because now they can go online, and if they have a little bit of gift of gab and they can be a little bit charismatic, they can target others. And this is where cyberbullying comes in, and has nothing to do with physical attributes. In a pre-information age world, and not that I'm celebrating bullied, I was bullied, but in a pre-information age world, bullies had to have a little bit of size to them in order to push you around.
Well, and back in our day too, we could opt to kick their ass.
Exactly.
We could opt to kick, when people would look at me with cross eyes when I say, look, at the end of the day, either I got my ass kicked or I win, but I could stand up for myself. And now the schools say, oh, you can't defend yourself.
Right. So, well, when it comes to the cyberbullying
on the internet, how do you get to them anyway?
Well, one of the most important aspects, which, I've talked about this a lot when I'm trying to educate parents and educational systems, is that when you and I were bullied, or we, at the end of having the shit beat out of us or being punched or pushed around, guess what? We used to we could leave the school, we could leave the ball field, we could leave wherever we're being bullied. And guess what? We could go home. Mm-hmm. We could go back to our neighborhood, back to our family, back to our friends, and back to our loved ones, and it would stop. There was sanctuary.
And now you're carrying the bully with you constantly.
Thank you.
He's in your back damn pocket, right?
So not only are children being bullied at school and on the boat, now they go home, and guess what? There's no escape. And I say this all the time, is that today, children of the information age, if they are being bullied / cyberbullied, they can be cyberbullied 24/7, 365. Yeah. They can be targeted on the weekends, on the holidays, over vacations, over the summers. They literally can be targeted 24/7, 365. And mind you, if there is what is called cyberbullying by proxy, that is when the bully now encourages and manipulates other kids to target the victim. And now you have not just one cyberbullying, you have a whole cadre of online users of children that is targeting and victimizing that child. And this is why we have what is now called the term called cyber bullycide.
Right.
So when you mentioned suicide, this is when a child takes his or her own life. Why? Because he or she is being victimized online.
Yeah, and we're giving them. Here's something that I want to bring up and see what your opinion is. Now, I've told you my opinion of, well, I really haven't told you the total truth of why we're not on social media. And there's really no need. It's just well, yeah, it's garbage. It is garbage. I don't, I was talking to a friend of mine about Facebook. He's like, well, that's how I keep in touch with my kids. Well, you know what, dude? This is how I keep in touch with my freaking kids. Mm-hmm. They can text me the pictures of my grandkids, and it's safe. Right. They can talk to me, and how about call me? how about like, and I chuckled when I said, can you text me so we can, and what I was saying was, could you text me the number that I can call you at? Because I don't answer my phone and unless, and you said, no, I'm old school. I want to do a phone call. And then I explained it. I said, no, I just need to know what number you're calling from so I know to answer the phone. And, but they look at you with two heads. And then we spent 3 years basically, or 2 years basically sending our kids to even churches. Find us on Facebook. What the hell are we doing? Find us on Instagram. Find us. How about find us at Saint Bonaventural.com and control the content? I just don't understand it. I can't wrap it. I think I used the analogy to you the other day when we did a little pre-talk. That's like dropping your kids off to Michael Jackson's farm and saying, watch my kids. And then wonder what the hell happened. It doesn't even make sense.
Now, if I may, I want to bring up before, because I know we don't have so much time. There is a sub-concept to iPredator that I want your listeners to think about. The acronym is called ODER. Offline distress dictates online response. I'll say that again. Offline distress dictates online response, ODER. And what that is a sub-concept of iPredator, because what I believe, again, I don't have research to support it, but I think it's pretty common sense. A child or an adult's offline state of mind, whatever's going on in their offline world, directly impacts what they do online. It impacts, remember, as I said, there's only 3 ways to manage information. You can compile, you can disseminate, and you can exchange. Under my belief of ODER, however my state of mind is offline, I truly believe it impacts what I exchange, what I share, and what I compile. So if I am a child and I'm pissed off at my parents, or I am discouraged because I'm being bullied and being told I'm fat, and now I go online, guess what? Now all of a sudden, here comes an adult online user who, me as a 13-year-old, I don't know, he's actually 47 years old. What I do like is that he calls me pretty. He notices me. And this is what I'm trying to get folks to understand, is that our offline state of mind directly affects what we're doing online. And I think even if you go back to the old school, that methodology is the same, right? I mean, it's so easy for anybody to say anything when they're hiding behind the keyboard. Of course.
And you can be as smart as you want to be. You can type. I know how to spell Google, so I know everything. You can put your opinions out there. You can slam other people. It's so easy when you don't have to see them or you're not around them. And arming your kids with a defense to that, which is, I think, what you're really doing, arming parents and arming young people to understand the steps that need to be taken to, like you said, either self-evaluate. Are you doing it? Some people are doing it and they don't even know they're doing it. I'm privy to some conversations of people that I know, and they'll start talking about what they're posting, or they post just crapola, and they'll go, I just posted this. I'm like, what the hell was the point of that?
Well, if I may, under ODER, offline distress dictates online response. It is based on the common sense understanding. It's called subjective processing. We all have subjective processing. Our upbringing, our beliefs, everything we view, how we interpret our world, is our perceptual orientation, called subjective processing. That is common sense. But what I believe ODER is the subjective processing, but it is, and again, I don't have a name for it yet, so let's call it I factor, I guess. There is something that's going on in cyberspace online that affects our interpretation of what goes on perceptually. So if offline, I'm pissed off, okay, and I see you on the street, maybe we argue, maybe we get in a fight, maybe I tell you, screw you. Okay. But when I'm angry and I go online, and I still can't understand even though I'm angry, I respond differently. I am at much higher rates of having a difficult time controlling my impulse. I am much more likely to become vitriolic, to become aggressive, and to become mean. Now, is it as simple because I can hide behind a computer screen? I can hide behind a device? Is it that simple? I think it's something else, and I've yet to be able to formalize.
Mhm.
But I tell
I'll tell you this. I think there's such a difference in, and we did this to ourselves. Man, when you're in front of another human, you're I see your eyes. You got beautiful eyes.
right.
It doesn't become as, I own a call center, and we do customer satisfaction calls. And I laugh because I get these nasty ass emails about my dealerships, right? So the dealer, the damn latte machine, and the shit that people spew out in an email.
Right.
Well, then you call them, even just the vocalization, the vibration. We call it, that's what music is it's love. Exactly. It's a vibration. And all of a sudden you call, like if I get something about one of my callers and it's really, really nasty. And over the years, there's been a handful where people email me and they just they're mean and, blah, blah, blah. And then you call them and go, oh, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It's the human vibration. It's the aura. It's something. You're on to something. You figure out what it is. I actually just think it's the vibration. You lose your balls when you actually have to be in front of that person. And at the core of us, we are compassionate.
We are social creatures. We are, whether you want to define us as animals, pack animals, however we are social creatures.
I was going to say to you before, and this is it, on the CDC's website, I'm staring at this site. It's been here. They haven't changed. They haven't hit anything. And you know what? If you go to mental health and you drill down and you see what makes a human mentally healthy, I think it's the first or the second line was human interaction.
Exactly.
They knew damn well what they were doing to us. You can't separate people. That's what happened to families. I mean, you're talking about cyberbullying. Families have been cyberbullying each other. Texting mean messages to each other, and so much easier to do, or saying mean things via text to each other because they've been separated. And now that we're coming they say we're coming out of it. I think we're going deeper down the crap hole. Now they're not even getting back together, and the damage has been done.
Correct. And as I said earlier, we're moving towards virtual reality and artificial intelligence, and then obviously, nanotechnology. Those are the big three where we're moving towards. But you think about it, the open service, the big whatever, what do they call it? Social media, get connected. In reality, what is happening? It is causing us to become disconnected and isolated.
It happened to me, doctor. I mean, I sit in this studio. I have very little. Number one, I turn the news off. I don't know what's going on in the country. I don't even, if you ask me who the president was, I don't know, and either does he, I don't think.
Right.
But I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And I had to do it. I had to disconnect all my devices. Nothing pops up news. I do not know. I didn't know about the hurricane in Fort Myers till 3 days after it happened. I didn't even know, because what the hell? So I separated, but out of respect for your time, we could go on and on and on. I know this interview is going to be so cool for so many people. I would like to, at some point after the first of the year, sometime maybe to pick some stuff and just go down. But I want people to know how can they, iPredator.com, I'll put it up on the screen, but
hold on, not
.org, I'm sorry, .org.
The .com right now is available for purchase for $100,000. And
Oh my
I don't have,
God.
to me, I don't get, so I am iPredator.co, no M,
.co.
iPredator.net or iPredator.org.
Okay, great.
Those three domains, go to my website and, and it's all free and it's all educational. And again, feel free to use it and you don't have to give attribution to me.
No, and do that. All this material, all this stuff is up there. Hell, his phone number's up there. So, just like me, I keep my cell phone numbers on my websites. If you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. That's cool.
Right. And again, I've been volunteering for 12 years and I'm not asking online users to call just to chat and no disrespect.
No. Right. Yeah.
But if any of your listeners, are targeted, I provide free, help. I've been doing it since 2010. And it's just and I said it earlier, I am a technological idiot. Okay. My expertise is where I say cyber psychology is the psychology of
Right.
the online assailant, or also which is online victimization dynamics. What does it mean to be targeted? Because real quickly, what's happening here in the information age is victims of whether it be cyberbullying, cyber stalking, online cyber attacks. The vast majority of them, when they're calling me, they have been told by their loved ones, you're being melodramatic, you're being crazy, turn it off, delete it, move on.
Yeah.
Now, we
That's
live in
kind of
the
like
information.
depression. I always enjoyed when, because I've suffered from depression my whole life. I've always enjoyed pull up your, just pull your pants up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like
how
telling
can you,
that's like
how
telling
can
somebody
you
with
tell
cancer, get over
people
the damn
to
tumor.
turn it off, to delete it, or you're being melodramatic? We live in the information age.
Right.
So it's understanding that, whether you're an online victim, whether you're somebody who knows, it's to be empathic and it's to understand that people are dealing with some real trauma when they're getting targeted online.
Yeah. One last question that I would have for you. What about an organization? What about a company? What about do you go out and speak? Do you do presentations? Do you do those things? If a corporation asks you to come in, let's say a corporation asks you to come in, and because I can see, my mind goes a zillion miles an hour. I can see the value of bringing this man in, and if you've got a company and inviting, especially if you have a company of people that have children, and like you said, even adults, your stuff's helping adults, but to where they can invite their staff, have an event, you speak. Do you do that?
I mean, I presented the state of Colorado, the state of Vermont. During the COVID international conference, I presented to and I didn't go to Scotland, but I'm certainly open to that.
Okay.
But then again, if I love my job, I love what I do during the day, and everything at my website is free, but I would have no problem participating in something
the cool thing is, man, you're a cool dude. You speak in terms that people understand, which is highly important. When we had that phone call, and that's why I do it, if you'd have been all, doctor-y and all that crap, I can't understand that crap.
Right.
I just found out that verily, verily in the Bible means, hey, y'all listen. I don't understand that stuff. And that's what it takes, is people that, I don't want to use the word dummy down, because that's not it. You're not doing that. You are explaining it in a way that makes sense without all these charts and graphs and things that people are going to go, what the hell did he just say? I'm leaving here way better educated than I was. And that's a gift. And certainly, if that's something you can do, I'll have all Dr. Nuccitelli's information up on our website. I can see it as being, something, and I do know this, it's going to cost you a fortune to bring him in, because this dude has nice shirts.
Thank you.
All right, man. Any final last words before we cut out of here? We were right on the 60-minute mark, which is awesome.
No, sir. Thank you for having me on. And again, hopefully we had the opportunity, we helped a little bit for those that are thinking about online safety and protecting their children and protecting themselves online.
That's great. Hey, I am going to actually spin a song here. Jesus is to be praised in English. This is doing really well for us. I'm going to spin this. I'll be back in 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And I'm going to say a final adieu offline to Dr. Nuccitelli. Thank you very much, Doctor. And here we go. Jesus is to be praised, the English version. We actually, Doctor, we released this in 7 languages: English, Spanish, French, Italian, Serbian, Turkish, and Hebrew. I've got a Jewish faith person and a Muslim singing a Christian song because music is love, man. So they just sang it up for me. So here's the English version. I'll be right back.
You've been listening to and watching Paul live from the studios in Cincinnati, Ohio at Bootleggers Music Group and Bootleggers Music Group Radio. This episode was brought to you by Honda Marysville. Go to HondaMarysville.com. Check out the great line of Honda vehicles and pre-owned. We certainly do appreciate Bruce Daniels up there for all of his support. You can listen to Paul live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also check out the shows in the app and listen to the radio station online or in the app. Make sure you subscribe. We certainly do appreciate you. We appreciate Dr. Michael Nuccitelli for joining us today with great information. God bless.